It's been 1 year, 7 months, and 2 days since I started working on the Space Sim 2 project. And it is still not even 50% done. Why, you ask? Well, simply because I'm alone. Alone in this project. This phenomenon has made me lose motivation. But it wasn't always like this. To understand the present, we must first take a look at the past. Introducing the history of me, I guess?
COVID-19, the disease that defined our lives in 2020.
2020 is now the deadliest year in U.S. history.
Meanwhile,
I started playing Hypixel around 2020, and my first house was literally me building a house. I had so much fun messing around with all the features I had at the time. I just liked the idea of making games. I played around a lot in Fortnite's creative mode before fully committing to housing only. At the time, I didn't pursue housing as much as I did around 2023. I mostly made FNAF-related houses. I recreated what I enjoyed most. I also created a prison house, of which I still have footage of. In a lot of my past houses, I always had someone help me build them. I was so desperate for guests and cookies, to the point where my biggest goal in life became being on the first browser page. Just like every new creator, I used to endlessly AFK in my houses, waiting and hoping to get more guests. As housing updated, I kept checking what was new, what new limits we had. My first sim was a poop simulator. It was weird, but nonetheless, it was unique, just like me, and I even managed to add a story to that house. Before Treasure RPG, I made Treasure Island Adventures, a housing inspired by Find the Button, except that rather than it being a button, you would instead look for treasure and keys in chests. Like most of my ideas, it started simple, but when my best friend started to help with the builds, he started building larger builds, which led me to getting larger ideas. It became not just about looking for keys but also various items, and then there was a story too. The gameplay changed from something as simple as looking for a single item to completing loads of different quests. It was an early showcase of how my brain works. When Housing Plus released, I knew I wanted to make a big project. 2023, April 16th, was the day I made Treasure RPG. I got a builder from PoopSim to help me, and then I started making Treasure RPG without a plan. At the time, all I thought of was to have different climate islands and that there was gonna be a digging for random treasure mechanic. I thought of the characters pretty early on. For example, Trevor was already a character from the previously mentioned house, and well, at first I wanted the story to match this one too. Before Space Sim, in Treasure RPG, I reached my highest cookie count, which was around 800 cookies. Each week, I watched it gain higher and higher counts. The house was open for beta testing from the very start. And so that was my way to get good builders who actually cared about the project. This was around the time I discovered Alex Warrior, and he discovered me. It's the first house he visited of mine, and I was nervously shaking when he did, despite him only having around 250 subs at the time.
Oh, what's that? Sand chunk and sand. Interesting. Do I need to give him sand or sand chunks? Oh wait, I can just sell this to the villager. Okay. Oh, talk to Jake. This is very cool. This is like an RPG, but there's like a story to it. But it's a very cool house. It is a bit grindy. Grindy is just not my favorite thing, and I don't really want to do that on stream. But from what I've seen so far, it's a very interesting house. I think what we're gonna do now is like a rating system. Builds are like an 8 out of 10. There's some very detailed parts. Enjoyability, for me, I would say a 7 out of 10, but I know people do like the grindiness. Story's cool. Interesting. This reminds me a lot like Skyblock in a way, but it is different, like the items. But yeah, this is very cool. I'll go over here. Definitely continue with it. It'll definitely go somewhere. But yeah, very cool. We're gonna hop on maybe.
I kept getting new ideas as I was making the game, until eventually it seemed like I couldn't fit everything I wanted into one house. It was always clear to me that I wanted the story to end in space. And so, the idea of a space sim was born. The house was made on the 15th of May in 2023. By that point, I had already built a pretty good and big team, which really contributed to the success of Space Sim. A witch's gameplay loop was inspired by Business Sim, and I made it even better. The house was open before my team had finished building Mars, but that didn't matter to me. The whole house was finished within a week or two. I kept thinking of adding more and more locations despite them not being really planets anymore. Locations like Eris and the Black Hole. I made the requirements really long and hard to get to on purpose because I didn't want players to get to the unfinished parts so quickly. A portion of people complain about the grinding being too long in some parts, but that's exactly why the house stayed so popular for so long. As a matter of fact, it maintained over 50 players daily for 3 months, and the house had reached about 1,000 cookies or more in just a week. Simply because I made the progress take a long time and kept updating the house. At some point, I even started adding hidden lore to the house. It could be found through my Discord server, which by the way really blew up because of Space Sim, but this hidden story was only discovered by a single-digit amount of people. Nobody cared about it, they only wanted to grind for bigger numbers. Wait, we have an intermission! Please welcome Duke LaRue and his thoughts on Space Sim 1.
As a Space Sim player, it was so fun to grind out the game. It felt as if Minecraft and Roblox had made a game together. You would start on planet Earth and make your way through the solar system. As a pro Space Sim player myself, I would always beat the game, but then Jorka would do the unimaginable. He would update it constantly. This man knew craving that allowed all players, both new and old, to keep playing, which led to its ultimate success. Eventually, after probably about 10 updates, it was evident that some glitches were starting to arise. This unfortunately ended up being the downfall. It was possible for your whole game to get bricked and you were no longer able to play. Additionally, with such a big build, problems with graphics on lower end PCs started to turn away a lot of players. These issues led to the end of Space Sim 1, yet sometimes I still find players on Space Sim still grinding it.
Thank you, now let's get back to it. So, around the creation of Pluto, most of my builders started to become inactive, and I had to improvise with building on my own. This meant that my next project would be without an already assembled team. Space Sim 1 was the first house of mine that really caught Alex Farder's eye.
Ugh! Alright, P-Warp. Jump in, AFK pool. I like this AFK pool design. Anything... Ooh! Oh my god! Wait! I really like this. Okay, so we're in this bubble. I did not even realize that. And there are other planets out there. I love this. I love the builds for this. Wait, I just realized how long that must have taken you to make circles. That must mean it's so annoying. And you put like 4. Huge prop. I'm giving cookies for that. Very cool. Very cool house. I really like this. I like the builds. Builds are definitely very nice. Oh, this might be partner worthy. I don't know. We'll see.
He had recently made a partnership system in Housing Hub, his Discord server. The partnership would require you to promote his Discord on your house, but in return, you could have your own channel and promote your house with a ping to everyone. Though a problem occurred. I couldn't use Space Sim as my official partner housing release, since it was already released and didn't need that popularity boost. So I was inspired by the first partner, Buster Brown 1218. He made minigames like Hot Potato and Hunt the Player, which is why I wanted to make a short minigame house that could give me the partner role as soon as possible. See, and that's the problem. I didn't want the partner role because I wanted to promote an already made house. I wanted it because I knew that it would make me feel special. Alex Warrior was someone I really idolized, and getting any closer to him meant the world to me. And then later, I did exactly what I wanted. I made Jorka Says, a simple minigame that got abandoned quickly, but at least it gave me the feeling I seeked so dearly. In the house, I also made a concept game inspired by FNAF Security Breach Ruin, which had the VR mechanic. This concept later got turned into a game jam house called Virtual Insanity. We'll get into that later. After Jorka Says, I wanted to pursue something big, something unique, something I wanted to make for a long time. Was it a
Prison simulator?
Was it a
School simulator? No. It's Life Simulator. Beta release coming this summer.
A housing that was supposed to be the most interactive one you've ever seen. Though, the ideas for it were too many, too large, too overwhelming to code for one person. There were problems with getting builds done too. I didn't have my team anymore, I had to look for builders. You see, up to this point, all my past houses were open during the development. the negative thing about it was that people could break their own experience or get to places they shouldn't, and it was hard to control everything. On the other hand, it helped motivate me and my builders. No wait, not just that, it also helped get builders. LiveSim was planned to have a lot of features that till this day haven't been added, and in doing so, were scrapped. Despite the builder team difficulties, I still managed to find some builders as time passed, but most of them didn't stay for long and only built one specific build. So the map turned out to be a mess too, because it was all different styles, all made with no clear direction. I had announced the release of LiveSim, claiming it will be released in summer, but that was a mistake. I had no idea if I was gonna finish it in time, but of course, I still tried to. On top of that, something even worse happened. On the 20th of August 2023, I got banned for 30 days for threatening villagers with the two infamous letters IP, as an uncontrolled emotional response to him jokingly or not leaking a bit of LiveSim. I find it quite funny how it happened on LiveSim. Well, and that left a gap where I was brought to boredom and new ideas. It led to me making a really fun and short series called Alex Warrior's First Week at School. After I got unbanned, I spent some more time on LiveSim until eventually on October 15, 2023, I said, "This house is gonna take forever to finish. It's already playable. Why not just release it now and update it later?" And so I did just that. But the house wasn't just unfinished in terms of additional features. It was also quite buggy and sometimes didn't work properly. It seemed like it wasn't playtested enough, and by the time I fixed most of it, all the players had already left. I still updated it a few times hoping that it would get players back. And it did for some time, but never enough to keep lots of players at once. And that was demotivating. I was still planning and promising new updates, but never finishing anything. This house really showed all my creative problems, and I should have learned from it before starting the SpaceSim 2 project. Hey, why don't I tell you all the problems so you don't make the same mistake I did? Number 1, not writing a plan. You gotta make a whole document before creating the house. This will let you see if everything works and fits. And if you need to change anything, you can without changing the actual house. Number 2, not working on the essential/main gameplay first. I get very easily distracted and I often start doing unnecessary things. Number 3, not getting more coders. I thought that nobody else would be able to follow what I had in mind, but realistically, I just needed a clear plan that a coder could understand without questions. Number 4, making things complicated. If it's not simple, it's overwhelming or too hard to follow. Introduce things one by one and not at once. Number 5, not trying to build yourself. Look, you're just gonna lock yourself out from pursuing anything if you rely on others. The builds can be temporarily bad, but at least make something so you can do something. Number 6, not letting more people test the house during development. Feedback can really break your perspective on how well you thought the house was made, but that's crucial to perfection. Number 7, announcing the house. I believe you should only do it if it's almost done, or at the very least don't give any dates. Alright, it's almost time to talk about SpaceSim 2, but first let me mention Virtual Insanity. It was made after the SpaceSim 2 project had already been worked on, and so some of Virtual Insanity was a part of what was already made in SpaceSim 2, which means I could see how well those already made parts work. I actually made a video on how it was made, but it's unlisted and only sent to 2 Discord servers because I thought it wasn't that good. If you want to check it out, you can by checking the description below this video. And of course, there are several problems in there which I'm still trying to fix in SpaceSim 2. Haha, so much mention of the house and yet I still haven't actually talked about it. But now, yes, now I will. Get ready for the not entire history of SpaceSim 2. Let me remind you, this house is a sequel to SpaceSim, which was a sequel to Treasure RPG. And everything made before it was adding up to the culmination that is the very creation of this house. The house was created on the 5th of January 2024. The house development strategy was very similar to Treasure RPG and LiveSim, basically a combination of the two. I was making up things and changing the entire lore as I worked on it. It got complicated really fast, mostly because at some point I played Undertale and got heavily inspired by it. Tip: do not play other games while making your own. It went from a basic mining and clicking sim to a whole turn-based RPG. And now the house is a mess because it's trying to be 2 games at once. And I'm trying to target 2 very opposite audiences. Hey, Another tip, pick only one audience to target. And as you can see, as a story writer and coder, I had a lot of unnecessary issues that could have been avoided if I had just written a plan beforehand. It would have been something I could look at and follow along with. Alongside the complicated gameplay came the weird, unable to locate sign at whatever message, and the recent housing updates made it so the house needed a lot of reworking, which made the whole development process even slower than before. Besides those problems, in the beginning I was also once again out of builders. But luckily I found some along the way. Here's how it went. First, I made a house specifically to look for builders. Found a Star Wars fan. He proved to be capable of sci-fi builds, so I accepted him. Senior Solbrilla, or otherwise known as Berku, was my first Space Sim 2 builder. He was not productive, but he built from time to time nonetheless, so I was satisfied. What I was not satisfied by was him only working on one build, the space station. I knew I had to get more builders in order to build other parts of the game and to make the building progress faster. I went on a desperate search. Baidel got added to the team because he was already a builder on Housing Hub. He ended up building something on Mars, but it was scrapped. At least he built Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter though. Duke LaRue got added because I knew him since Poopsim. He built Earth and its mining area. Ahsoka Tano was added because when I made my April Fool's house with all the different random games inside the house, the school sim one was liked by her and she liked Star Wars too, which was perfect. She built Saturn. Flipside got added because he was previously a builder on LifeSim. He ended up building the planet Uranus. Tomatita got added because he was already a builder for Housing Hub, and he ended up being the best builder because of how well and how much he did. He built Neptune and a few moons. Then Snowlick applied and got added because he was a builder for Housing Hub, but he didn't do anything on the house. Why did I think he was gonna do something when this is literally his application? What the heck, Snowlick? Snowlick! Okay, calm down, Jorka. Calm down. And so by now, everyone has kinda stopped working on it. Saturn isn't actually finished, and at some point, Berkey only recently built something on Mars. I also had plans to have a secret way to enter the house through a mini ARG, as you might call it, but now that's scrapped too. Also, I want to give an honorable mention to PJ May and Minties for helping a bit with some code. So, because nobody's working on it, it leads to me taking things into my own hands. I recently decided I needed a plan and a story script. I finally finished writing it and I can proceed with the house. But other than this project, I also have other plans. Starting with housing, Space Sim 2 is most likely my last project. I'll make the essential gameplay, which is the story quest, and afterwards I'll begin playtesting, during which I will add anything I can until my motivation runs out, and I decide to just release the house so the suffering stops.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift.
Currently, Treasure RPG is the oldest housing of which you can still visit at the time of which I am saying this. Unfortunately, it got griefed 2 months ago because of an old builder wanted to have some, I don't know, fun probably. Well, for one, it was a lesson that I should keep all inactive houses in social mode. On the other hand, it was a way to realize that I should move on and delete the house, just like I deleted all my past houses. I had plans to remaster Treasure RPG, to remaster Space Sim 1, to make a Live Sim 2, but they're all so time consuming and my life is becoming busier. Live Sim 2 is the only possible project I'm considering to work on, with an exception. I have to have a fully written plan and how I will make it, and a fully determined team with not just builders but coders too. Despite that, I would still not work on it much myself, and I would leave it up to my team to do most of it. You see, housing is just not the right place for me. I want to make story games, single player games, and not whatever brain rot everyone wants to play these days. I got ideas larger than what is expected from Hypixel. As housing got more and more updated, we got the potential to make bigger and more complex games. But the truth is, housing was never meant to be this complicated. For now, as you may see, this channel's main focus is housing. But what do I do if I don't pursue housing anymore? Well, I don't have to make houses to make videos. I can still try to be somewhat up to date with what is going on with housing and make something out of that. Though, my main idea is instead switching over to a new channel and turning this channel into a fully Minecraft and more family-friendly one. You have to understand that relying on housing content only is just not very promising for a full-time YouTube career. In conclusion, sorry I can't tell you when Space Sim 2 is gonna come out. You heard my story, now you know why it hasn't come out. Obviously, I didn't mention all the reasons, like school being a pain in the... Oh yeah, right, I gotta keep it family friendly. I know it might be a little early to be revealing my past, but... I don't care. There are a lot of things I couldn't get the chance to mention just because of how much there is. So I hope you enjoyed whatever this turned out to be. Thank you for 100 subscribers and thank you for sticking around for so long. Today, I don't see this number as big as I did a long time ago. But imagine 100 people being in a single room with you, all watching you, appreciating your work. I don't expect this video to do well since it's not really about housing and more about me. But I appreciate anything I get. Like the video to show support, subscribe to not miss any of my content, or comment anything because I love reading opinions I can learn from. And once again, thank you so much for watching.